Hi, folks, and welcome to their Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
I'm Benjamin.
Oh,
I'm back again. Look out.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I missed a week.
Well, that's okay. No. It was you missed a few weeks, but it was my fault because you even told me.
And I got it 10 seconds in, and I got him to admit it right away.
No. I admitted on a previous podcast that after we had finished our last one together,
yes,
you had said that you were going to help Megan, and it totally went in one ear and out the other. And so I texted you, didn't hear back from you.
I think it went through my own head.
You were helping her with practice, but I was thinking,
together.
That's odd, because you usually text back at least by the next day. And I was like, right. Oh, that's weird. And I got ghosted. And I don't even know if he's too old to ghost me, so I don't know what happened. Is he dead? If it's a younger kid that ghosted me, if it's an older guy, he's dead.
There's something of a problem.
Then it just
he's either got cancer or he's dead already.
And I was like, oh my gosh, we just talked about this. And I was like, I can't believe this. So, yeah, I'd totally forgotten. But I'm glad to have you back because this was also something we talked about last time you were here. Yeah. You were talking about it, and you mentioned, we were talking a little bit, and I said, wait, stop. I said, we got to do a podcast on this because it was getting too good.
Just because of my excitement about the book and how much I loved it?
You started telling me a few things about it, and I was really interested either. And I thought, you know what?
Let's bottle this.
And people obviously see the title here. It's Gene Wilder.
Oh, yeah.
That's who we were talking about. But the thing is, though, I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to go through it. This is an autobiography.
Autobiography.
And what is the title called?
Called "Kiss Me Like a Stranger."
Okay, and what is that reference to?
And it is in reference to an early part of his career.
Okay.
Actually, in a real life moment that he had, and a title that his ex-wife Gilda Radner gave him for his book before she died.
Oh.
Yeah, all kinds of little fun stuff. Yep. So he was in the middle of writing the book, and Gilda Radner had cancer. She died from, I forget what else.
That's when the book was being written?
Yeah, shortly after, yeah. Because he got remarried after Gilda Radner to someone else about a year and a half later, and then he was married to her, but Gilda is the one who gave him the title. He says, I have a title for your book. And she said, "Kiss me like a stranger." And he said, "Okay, Gilda." And he just stored it away in his head. And then 10 years later, he ended up finishing it and wrote it because he was, writing his autobiography because he had cancer for the last 5 or 10 years of his life, and had to go through some pretty intensive chemotherapy to get it all out. And I forget where it was, and I don't know the details, and nor does anyone care. But the point is that, when you're going through something like that, you start thinking about your life story and what have I done and what have I accomplished and all this other kind of stuff. And so that's why the autobiography got written. And the beautiful part is that he narrates it himself. And I'm not sure even how I found out about this.
And that was really interesting when you told me that.
What's that?
That he narrated it too.
Yes, and that's honestly one of the best parts about the book is
you get to hear it being read by him.
Most people who are familiar with any of Gene Wilder's work are probably most familiar with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, would be my guess.
I would say that's his most famous.
I would say it's his most prolific role that everybody knows.
Even though I would say a true fan would probably like Young Frankenstein.
Agreed.
Best. I'm not. But by the way, I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It's hard not to like it.
Well, no, it's not my favorite.
It isn't? Your favorite Gene Wilder movie?
No.
Please tell me what it is.
Guy's Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Okay.
Because he's just that they can deliver some of the funniest lines you'll ever say, and then no one breaks. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
they're
they had
kings.
multiple takes.
No, they're the kings.
But the thing is,
never breaking. No, deliver it straight.
The way Gene Wilder. Yep. What do you like to do? Play chess.
He's the king.
Let's play chess. And see this hand? Yes, steady as a rock. Yeah, but this is the one I shoot with. Oh my gosh.
He's the king.
How do you deliver that line?
Yeah. I'll tell you how.
I'm laughing saying his lines. And then when he takes his hands, he's like, what did I tell you to wash your hands after every cross burning? Look, it's coming off.
Right.
I was like, oh my God.
It's
how
insane.
Do you say this?
It's insane how they do it. And you know what?
I mean, everything he does, humorous. He does a lot of. He's done a lot of humor. He's the king of comedy.
Comedy actor, yes.
But the thing is, though, his delivery.
Well, that's what makes it priceless.
Is just so good.
It's unparalleled, I think.
But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, this is perfect because this is a lot of what the biography is about. So it's a no punches pulled kind of story. So he does go through some stuff pretty like, whoa, it'd be stuff that you wouldn't want to really admit at a dinner party kind of thing. But he's like, well, I'm writing a book now.
May as well tell all.
Here goes. I might die tomorrow kind of thing. So it comes right out. But it all serves a purpose. He doesn't just tell you anything. He's a good storyteller, and he doesn't tell you anything in his life that is just designed to shock you, because even the things in his early childhood that were like, whoa, that's pretty harsh, comes into the play later on in the book, and it kind of explains why he did this role or how he felt about that thing, etc., etc.
I am all ears now.
So the beauty of it is that I say most people are familiar with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because he has such beautiful little lines that he delivers that are very poetic and very gentle, and it's got a lot of wisdom and heart in the movie. It's about these naughty children who eat too much candy and have all these different vices, and therefore they don't win the prize. Spoiler alert, Willy Wonka is all about Charlie getting the chocolate factory at the end, and the other children are naughty, and they have different vices that are accentuated throughout the movie.
The worst Tim Burton movie is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I don't think I ever saw it, or at least all of it.
It's horrible. I know it stays, quote unquote, more true to the story.
That's what I've heard.
But the thing is, though, you're taking on an iconic character immortalized by Gene Wilder.
True.
And I like Johnny Depp too. But that was a mistake to make.
True. And here's what's ironic about that, and I do remember hearing that about, well, this one's more true to the book and everything.
Yeah, that's what they try to tell you, so you would love it.
Well,
definitely.
Willy Wonka, when it came out, was a commercial failure. Like, it did not make any money, and he, as an actor, had done, I think that was his third movie ever. And,
I didn't know that.
And it was his third movie in a row that failed in the box office.
What were the first two?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But the point is, because they were commercial failures, right?
That's wild that it was a commercial failure.
Yeah, and he said that the producers and the studio said that the parents, or they said that it was too scary for children, and it was too, the morals and the truths that they were teaching were too harsh for children to understand.
Wow.
But it turned out it was the mothers who were afraid, and the kids got it. They understood it and they loved it, but the moms and the parents wouldn't take them to see it because they were afraid. They were more afraid of the crazy psycho through the boat,
right?
Slugworth, the Slugworth thing, all that.
Yeah.
Scared the Jesus out of the parents.
Yeah,
not the kids.
A scary character.
The kids wanted direction. They want somebody to tell them what's right and wrong, and they were able to figure it out. And it was so wonderful because he talked about how
this gained popularity in cable.
I don't know. It only took about a few years, and it did finally gain popularity and start making money, but it just wasn't in the box office kind of thing.
Wow.
But it took a little while before he finally could accept it as a big deal. But for the rest of his life, kids would come up to him and they would get a little. They wouldn't quite know what to say, or it was like the first person they'd ever met that was a big famous, or they recognize him or something. Little kids.
Yes.
And,
for years.
And then he said they always got the same knowing smile on their face, where like they were a little nervous and they knew it was him, but they didn't quite know what to say to him. And he would always slip into that character for them. And it was so easy, and they were so loving and gentle, and just, wanted to hug him immediately and just loved everything about it. And he was always so,
done that to me, I said, take me away.
He was always so embracing of that, and
awesome.
so accepting, and it was,
what a great
guy.
Fantastic.
I know, he really
really great
like
to go and entertain the fans. And I will, even though I did just say Johnny Depp should have never done that character, Johnny Depp has done the same for Jack Sparrow. Even today, he still does it. After Disney's kind of kicked him to the curb, he still will for kids.
I didn't know that.
Yes, a few weeks ago
he did play the part.
Jack Sparrow for a young fan.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because someone had given him some art. I
got you.
This looks just like beautiful. Me, just started going into the Jack Sparrow thing. But that's awesome that Gene Wilder does.
So I bring up Willy Wonka because the book is narrated in that Willy Wonka style voice. That's his normal speaking voice. That's how he talks.
That was when he was starting.
He's very melodic in the way he speaks. He's very... he sounds like everything he says, he's reading a poem to you.
He's sitting on top of a hill giving you advice.
Yeah. He's very soothing. It's very comforting. You want to sit there and listen to it, and this is how...
Fireside chat.
That's exactly what I wrote. This is what I wrote. The way he reads everything with such poetry in his voice. He said, this is a quote, "Acting seems so much easier than life. When I'm on stage, I feel safe. But on stage, everyone listens to me and watches me, and if I'm any good, they applaud me. And when I'm taking my bow, I have the feeling that I've earned my feeling of grace, as if God were saying, you did something worthwhile, so I won't punish you for a few days." And that was one of his biggest vices, is he grew up and he called it his demon. But he had something that, growing up, something instilled it in him that he wasn't good enough and that God needed to punish him. Because he said, what right do I have to be happy when there are so many starving people and suffering in the world? Like, how can I take such pleasure in this wonderful life that I have? And he wasn't wealthy, rich. He wasn't rich or anything like that. Like, his parents are Russian immigrants and barely spoke English when they got here.
I had no idea.
And his grandparents, like, they were Russian, and he was very Jewish and very Russian. And I forget what his birth name is, his given name, but he changed. Stage name was Gene Wilder, and he wanted to be an actor since he was 11, and he wanted to be a stage actor. And his dad, who spoke broken English kind of thing, always encouraged him. Says, Gene, I don't think you should put all your eggs in this one basket kind of thing. Because he was like, you got to make a living for yourself. This is what we had to go through. This is how we got to America. This is all this other stuff.
Like any blue collar worker would
exactly.
say.
So
learn a skill.
He encouraged him to not do this whole acting gig, and he didn't listen to him, thankfully. And what was one of the beautiful moments in the book is near the end. Actually, it was for, I think, Young Frankenstein, or one of the movies that didn't do well, but his dad didn't know that. He just knew that Gene was a big star, and Paramount was paying for everything. And so he was still popular enough to where he was, and wealthy enough, and that the studio was picking up the tabs for things like they had the premiere of this next movie, and Paramount sent a limo to his dad's house in New York or wherever they lived, or Chicago, I think. And, had him pick him up. He'd never seen a car that big before, and they put him in they took him to the 5-star dinner at the hotel with like a flaming dessert at the end. And his dad had never seen anything so extravagant in his whole life. And so he's at the height of his career, or he's kicking into it right then. And he got to have a few sweet little tender moments that he talks about in the back of the limousine. He got to ask his dad some questions that he've always wanted to ask, because he felt like, his dad was getting sick and he was getting older, and he could tell it was getting close. And so he started talking to him about it some more, and then he got quiet in the middle of the car ride back home, and he put his head down and he said, Gene, I always told you not to put your eggs in one basket, and I realize now that I was wrong. And because he was so proud of him and how well they had done, and how he couldn't believe the world that he lived in as a big famous movie actor. And what was great is that he wanted to be an actor as 11. He went to a good school and everything else, and he learned it, and but always wanted to be a stage actor. Like, that was his thing. And he wanted to be a dramatic actor. He wasn't interested in doing comedy.
That's great.
He knew he was funny and that he could make people laugh.
But he wanted to do different.
But he wanted to be a real actor.
Yeah.
And I forget the show that he saw. He saw a show on Broadway, a famous actor, just changed his life. It was some big famous play that I forget the name of, but that just sunk into his brain, and he's like, I need to do that. And then that was it. That was all he wanted to do forever. And he didn't want to do comedy, but he knew he could make people laugh because his mom had a heart attack when he was very little, and had a really bad heart condition ever for the rest of her life. And the doctor, he said, was a very fat, sweaty man, leaned over to my 6-year-old self and told him that whatever you do, don't upset your mother, because you could kill her, because she has a weak heart. And you're telling us to a 6-year-old.
Yeah, I know.
And
they take it literally.
He was serious, but he was serious as a thing. And and she did have a very weak heart. And the second thing that he told him was, and if you can, make her laugh all the time, and that would keep her alive. Oh my God, the pressure.
Yeah, no, for real.
First of all, you can't make your mom mad at 6 years old.
I know.
What did you and I do when we were 6 to upset our family? And especially our mom, or 16 or 36, like whatever. It still pissed mom off, but now she laughs and gets with it. But But so not only do you have the burden of not killing your mom, but you also have to make her laugh to live longer.
To keep her alive.
Yeah, and so she had a very weak bladder apparently after that for the condition too. So he always knew he succeeded when she peed her pants.
That's awesome.
And that was what his goal was every day, was to make his mom like say, "Oh, Gene, look what you made me do," or whatever, like that. However she put it.
That's charming.
So I mean, he was he had that embedded in him, but he was always. He had his demon, which was he had such a compelling need, an overwhelming need to pray when he felt unworthy, and like I shouldn't be able to have and enjoy this. And so everything in his life that sex, relationships, anything that was normally good for people growing up, he felt like I can't enjoy this. It's not fair to the whole world. And then he had this overwhelming need to just pray, and pray his guilt away, kind of thing. So part of the book is talking about how he got over that through acting as well, but more so it was through finally finding love in his life, essentially, that cured him of that, and figuring out what he wanted to do.
So how did he and Gilda Radner?
Gilda Radner?
Gilda Radner.
I don't remember how they met, because he was married a couple of times, and then he met Gilda. It must have been on Blazing Saddles. No. It was on a movie set. It was on a movie set, yeah. Because he said, I didn't want to be in the movies either. And he found out later in college that he had a gift for, because he worked with some of the most famous stage teachers in history,
Right.
Just magnificent theater directors.
Right.
And he found out that he had a better gift and accepted the fact that comedy was his forte. And then finally, he really embraced it wholeheartedly. And he said that the only way I'm ever going to be in Hollywood or ever go to the movies is if somebody sees me in a Broadway play and says, hey, I have this part for you in Hollywood. I want you to come down and do. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. The first part he ever got was a little bit part down in Texas, and he took a week off, and his understudy took over for him on Broadway.
Wow.
And he flew down there, and he did one scene, and he met the girl, and then 30 minutes later, he was making out with her, and then he got to stand up and say, hey, that's my car. And that was his first line, and he flew back home. And that was it. Awesome. And so he had like one or two scenes, and he's like, hey, it's my car. And he's like, that's Hollywood. You making out with somebody you just met? Yep. You screaming about a car that's gone? And then he had a small part with like Gene Hackman. And Gene Hackman was supposed to tell him a joke in the car. And so Gene Wilder, being the method actor that he was, he's like, don't tell me the end of the joke so that I really laugh at it. Don't tell me during rehearsal so that when we film it, I'll really hear it and it'll be my real reaction to the joke. And so Gene Hackman would never finish the line in the joke, and then they finally got to film it, and the joke was so bad, and it was just such a horrible punchline that it made him laugh even more. He's like, my God, that's what I've been waiting for all day, and he laughed so hard. And then Gene Hackman, the good actor that he is, he rolled with it, and then the next time they filmed the scene, he told it a little bit different, and just knowing that Gene Wilder was going to laugh at it, that hard at this horrible knock joke or whatever it was, and so he just kept doing it. And so whatever scene that they talk about in the movie is the one that they used. Like, he's just crying, laughing, trying to hold this together.
That's great.
So he met Gilda on the movie set in Hollywood. Like, he had moved out to California at that point, and his adopted daughter, had seen her on Saturday Night Live before, and that she was a big fan of hers.
Oh, okay. So this is later on.
Yeah, so he never watched SNL, but he found out about her stuff afterward and everything else, and she was just really funny and attractive and
good. They went well together.
He hated to be alone is the thing, and she needed people all the time.
Yeah. So
that was how it worked. It was their relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. So there's lots of really sappy, beautiful stuff in there. There's lots of really funny stuff, and if you're an actor, stage or screen, I think there's so much that anybody could glean from it, because he talks so much about his method and the way he sets up a scene and the way he goes into everything. And again, the whole book is so delicate and beautiful and soft, and it's like you are curled up in front of a fire with your knees chucked up under your chin, and you're in your pajamas next to the fire, and you're listening to your grandfather tell you stories or something like that.
Right.
Let me tell you about my bars, and you're just like, wow, that's amazing. That's the way the whole book is.
That's awesome.
You just can't stop listening to it.
Yeah.
And little bits like, I love this, one of the things he used to do when he needed to do like a really hectic scene, or he would act all crazy, you know how when he gets into his hysteric modes, he told the director, he said, quick, go have somebody buy me a couple of Hershey bars, and he just like shoved the whole thing in his mouth and just eat 2 Hershey bars, and
that sugar rush,
and the sugar rush he would go on and stuff like that. But even stuff like that, he was funny with it, because he was like, he said, quick, give me some Hershey bars. He's like, okay. Do you want nuts or no nuts? He says, nuts. No nuts. And just making joke out of every little moment in his life.
That's awesome. And I bet he would have been just amazing on the set.
And it really seemed like that. So stuff that he would do. And then later in life, when he would watch, he talks about how he would watch movies and he would turn off the sound, and if possible, watch them in black and white, you know, or whatever they had the print of.
Yeah.
And that's how he would. If he were trying to decide if he wanted to work with an actor or a director on a movie, then he would watch the movie with no sound and nothing else to distract him. He would just look at the lighting and how they frame the shot and everything else.
Wow. Block out all the noise.
Exactly. Like, so you're not influenced by the soundtrack, and you're not influenced by anything else. And which I think is beautiful, because even today in film school, if you watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, it's considered one of the perfect movies, because there's only one scene in the movie that you don't know what's happening, with no sound and no color. If you watch Indiana Jones with nothing else, the only scene that you don't know what's happening is during the blackboard scene, he's explaining the Ark of the Covenant. And so he comes in and the army's like, what is this, Dr. Jones? And he says, well, it's the Ark of the Covenant, and you know, and that's the only exposition part of the movie for the whole 2 hours.
Wow.
Like, that's, if you watched it all and you were deaf and had low vision, you could still figure out who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, what's Indy's motivation.
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to get this idol. Oh, the bad guy took it away from him. Oh, that's, you know, here's the girl. You know, all the stuff is that's Spielberg's genius and sort of thing. And it's used as an example of cinematography and how to frame a movie with, even if you have a crap script and even if you have crap actors, you can still make a good movie. And when you have everything working, then it all comes together and it's genius.
Yeah.
But even if without those things.
What movie was he most proud of?
He was most proud of Young Frankenstein.
Oh, he should be.
Because it is his baby. He wrote it. I did not know that. And I even played the part. I think that's probably how I found this audiobook at some point, because I think YouTube figured out that I might be interested in in Gene Wilder videos, because I watched so many Young Frankenstein videos and the making of and any interviews I could find.
Trust the algorithm.
I trusted the algorithm, and it led me to this book. But he wrote Young Frankenstein, and one of the beautiful things about it is that he said that it was the most fun of any movie he ever did in his entire life, and that he knew it by day 2 of filming.
That's great.
And that he was able to be in and appreciate, because in so many actors you finish a show and you're like, man, that was really good, and then everybody's gone, you know, it's all over by that point, and you finally realize what a great experience it was. And I think outside of acting, anybody has that kind of experience.
Right.
You're on a good baseball team, you know, and maybe the year after you win the championship, you think back to that time. It's like, God, that was a really good time in my life, and I didn't appreciate it. Oh my gosh, he knew immediately, and that's how I felt when I was doing Young Frankenstein. It's like, it was so beautiful, and I'm like, this is so much fun.
Yeah,
it's because he had him and Mel Brooks and everybody else that he loved, and they were killing each other laughing every time. He says they didn't deviate from the script that often, but their movements and everything. So like when Marty Feldman, who's playing Igor, gets introduced to the girls, and he says, Igor, why don't you help the ladies with their bags? And he says, all right, certainly, you take the one with the turban, I'll take the blonde, or whatever he says. And he bites the muskrat's head off of her shawl or whatever. Yeah. That was totally improv by Marty Feldman, and they had to roll with it, and then they filmed it the whole thing, and then they couldn't stop laughing through the whole way.
That's great.
And that's one, and you can find that on the blooper reel for Young Frankenstein. Like, they recorded that, and on the DVD you can see the 7 different takes and them trying to hold it together the whole time. And he said that was emblematic of how the whole movie went. Like, they were constantly killing each other laughing with stuff like that. I love hearing stuff like that. So, and that was actually in the top 5 things that I had on this is his he talked about how Young Frankenstein was the happiest he'd ever been on any movie set, and also the saddest, because on the last day of filming, he had wandered off, and Mel Brooks was looking for him. He's like, "Oh, we got to shoot this scene. Where are you?" And so he found him in the bedroom set, staring into the fake fire.
Yeah.
On the Young Frankenstein set. He said, "Hey, what's the matter? Why the long face?" And he looked up at Mel Brooks and he says, "I don't want to leave Transylvania." And he was so sad because he knew it was going to be over with in a couple. The next day, they were done filming. So.
That's wild.
And he was so happy with it. So, and he was always very proud of it. And that was also not a commercial success right away, I don't believe either. So, but it ended up. He ended up getting a string of hits in a row after that, and then he could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So such good stuff on there, and then he just talked. He's like I said, he's very. Honest and exposed. Well, one of the quotes that he has is, "His actors were such babies. After his cancer, he wondered, would my hair grow back? Would my eyelashes grow back? Would I be able to act again? Look at me. Look at what I can do growing up. We just wanted to be loved for who we were, for our true selves. And then we would do well, and we would get applause, and then we'd want to do it all over again." And it was just beautiful, the way he talks about everything in his life. And then things like the way Young Frankenstein came together is his agent in California, who he literally bumped into on a street corner, like the classic Hollywood example.
Of course,
he's like, "Hey," and he takes him out for coffee, and he's like, "Is this your way of stealing me away from my New York agent?" He says, "Well, yeah, if you want to put it that way." And that's exactly what happened. Wow. Called him up a week later and says, "Hey, what do you think about a movie with you, Peter Boyle, and Marty Feldman?" He says, "Why us three? What a strange combination. How'd you come up with that idea?" He says, "Well, I'm now the agent for you, Peter Boyle, and Marty Feldman."
That's hilarious.
So he's like, "Do you have anything?" He says, "Well, as a matter of fact, I've been writing this script." And so he gave him Young Frankenstein, and that's how the three of them got in the part.
That is incredible. Yeah. They all had the same agent.
They all had the same agent. That's how the movie got going.
That's how you be a good agent.
Right.
You got all of your clients
like,
a job.
Let's take the list. I got an idea, and that way I get paid for all three of them. How brilliant is that?
Everyone's working, baby.
Right, and everybody was working, so it was great.
Wow.
And that's how he got that movie going. And let's see. The opening scene for Willy Wonka, where he's on the cane, was all his idea.
Yes,
and
I knew that.
He has told this in a few interviews, and I loved it.
I think it's on the commentary.
Is it
DVD.
for the Willy Wonka?
I want to say it is.
And yeah,
because the kids didn't even meet him.
No.
Until that was their first time seeing him.
No, and he was very method in that kind of way. He liked to... He was trained as a dramatic actor, so he kept a lot of that technique.
Everything he did coming out to when he did the somersault was all him.
All him.
That was not scripted at all.
And before he even agreed to do the movie, he told the director, "Hey, here's the scene I want to do. I want to come out, and I want to have the cane, and I want to, fall and do a somersault and then jump up, and everybody applauds." And he says, "Well, why do you want to do that for?" So no one would know if I was lying or telling the truth for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And he says, "So you're saying that if you don't do that, you don't get to do that, you're not going to do the movie?" He said, "That's what I'm saying." And he called up the producer, and I said, "Okay,
that's an easy win."
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
That's all we got to do. Sure.
And he said they shot it like 4 times, and they had like a styrofoam bricks to replace it, and he poked it in the styrofoam.
Poked it in the same place every time.
Done. Yeah. And then the guys, the producer, saw the dailies of it all when they started filming. He said, "That's brilliant. I love it. Let's keep doing it." And it worked.
That's great.
It was great.
That's great.
So I just love that stuff like that was his idea. He talks a lot about working with Richard Pryor and what their relationship was, because they did so many funny movies together.
They had their good relationship together.
Things like Silver Streak and such. He had one day of prep for, and suddenly he was on the plane on the next day because the first actor that they had hired, like, literally had a heart attack or something on day one, and the director thought he was just getting in the character. Mel Brooks was directing it, so he thought he was just, he said, "Keep doing it, that's great. That's great. He didn't know he was having a full-on foaming at the mouth heart attack or whatever, so he got Gene down there the next day. He called him from a payphone from the set, said, "I need you here. It's an act of God. This has to happen now."
Wow.
And he put off doing another play he was doing for, they rescheduled him to the end of this filming instead of the beginning of the filming, and so he could do Silver Streak, and that's how he met Richard Pryor, and that began that mess. And then so he, and the stuff with Richard Pryor was almost all improv, because that was Richard. And so he said the first thing they ever filmed together, he went one way in the scene, Richard went the other way in the scene. They said the dialogue, they said the scripted dialogue, they said another scripted dialogue, and then Richard started ad-libbing, and then Gene just in character just replied the way his character would, and then Richard said something else in character, and then the Gene went back and forth, and that was it.
They were that much in sync
instantly, and that they started humming the same song at the same time with no rehearsal on opposite sides of the room, and that's the take that they use in the movie. And Sidney Poitier said, "I'm just going to let you guys go. I'm going to have 3 cameras filming, and I just want you to just go, because this is what we're here for." And then they went, and they said, just, you don't have to worry about your blocking or anything.
Yeah.
I've got it covered. I'm going to get it on camera. And then they started humming the same exact song at the exact same time in the same scene with no prep and pre-talking about it or anything.
Wow.
They were totally in sync on screen. They never hung out outside of the screen, ever. He said maybe a hand less than one... Count on one hand the number of times that they hung out
outside,
not on the set.
Wow! But
on screen, perfect chemistry.
That's crazy.
And that's a beautiful interview that you can find pretty much on just about anywhere on YouTube too. With Gene Wilder, he talks about Richard, and he says that I don't mean to shock you, but it was a lot like a sexual chemistry, because you don't quite know. Like if you have 2 pretty girls in the room, and you say, "Oh, she's really beautiful," and you say, "Well, I don't know. I mean, she's not much more attractive as this girl is. She's got this, and then things. I can't explain it. I'm really attracted to this girl," and that is something we all kind of experience. We don't know why we're attracted to people, and we are, and it just works. And that's what he always described his relationship with Richard Pryor with.
That's awesome.
It just worked. It
was
wild how it happened.
Always worked. Yeah.
There was something else I was going to add there. Ask me something else.
No, okay. Oh, we're good.
Do it.
Okay. So, overall, you recommend this?
I've listened to this book twice, all the way through, and in just a couple of months. Yes. Absolutely. The original title of the book was "I Lean Towards Women," and he said it's a terrible title now in retrospect, because it sounds like the story of a man whose right leg is shorter than his left.
That's hilarious.
and then the final thing, what did I have on here? No, that was it. It's just the Charlie and the Young Frankenstein stuff and everything else. And
so totally, if you've never seen, by the way, if you've never seen Gene Wilder outside of Willy Wonka, you probably should.
Oh, well,
Willy Wonka is great, though. Willy Wonka is great. That's worthy to be praised. It's worthy to be well renowned. But that wasn't his only work. That was genius.
No,
the man did a few other ones that are just really good.
Such absurdity, and with such perfect timing, and such a straight face, like you talked about. Like can do anything, any funniest line on earth. And a lot of his inspiration came from Charlie Chaplin to do that. If it's funny, you don't have to act funny.
I can see that.
Yeah, because if it's just a funny bit, it'll be funny no matter what. And so he took that to heart, and he didn't make stupid faces or act dumb when you didn't need it. It was just already funny, and so he just trusted that perfectly, and he was able to play that straight face because he knew that it was a good line. He knew it was a funny bit, that it was a stupid circumstance, and he could just keep it straight on his face because of his dramatic training in Broadway.
That's awesome.
So anyway, magnificent book, totally worth every bit of it. I got it on Audible.
So there you go.
Whatever audiobook situation
grab it on Audible.
Fire it up on.
If he's reading it, yeah.
Oh, that's part of what makes it so great, especially to sit back on a Saturday
morning.
Samoflange.